Hey, welcome to YouTube and welcome back to a new video with Rams fan YT. In today's video, we will be looking at the best player to not play in the Euros for each of the nations playing in the Euros 2024. Should be an interesting one. There's some very notable exclusions. Last time I did this video, I can't remember if it was for the Euros or for World Cup, I think I included injured players, which in hindsight isn't probably the best idea because if a player's injured, they're not going to be fit enough to reach the 26-man squad, and I wouldn't expect them to be called up. So this time, there's going to be no injured players. Right, let's get it started with the hosts, Germany. I've gone with Julian Brandt. The Borussia Dortmund forward has had an impressive end to the season, to be fair, having played his part in the club's run all the way to the Champions League final. So far this season as well, Brandt has made 25 goal contributions, 9 goals and 16 assists. But for some reason, that still isn't enough to earn a place in the squad. Brandt is said to be thought of highly by Nagelsmann, who described the decision at the time as a hardship. But realistically, you could have just fitted him into the squad. And apart from Nico Schlotterbeck, Emre Can and Niklas Füllkrug, no of the Borussia Dortmund players have been called up to the Germany squad, despite them being in the Champions League final, and there's been several Bayern players, despite them not winning the league or even doing a very good job internationally, well, in the European competitions either. It's a bit, yeah. Scotland, Elliot Anderson. To be fair, this is down to the individual player, because he has a choice to either represent England or Scotland. However, let's be honest, he's unlikely to get into the England squad, not in the nearest time anyway. And if we look at Scotland's midfield, he was most likely make the starting 11 with a slight tweak in formation to add to his skill set. Southgate has said positive things about him, but let's face it, if Southgate said anything, it wouldn't be negative about anyone. He wouldn't even say a negative thing about a spider that is the size of his face. Right? So, Switzerland, Auriel Amenda. One look at the Swiss squad, and you notice something that is key, and that is being the age of Fabian Schär, who is one of their best players. Now, thankfully, he didn't suffer any injuries. But if he did, would it be wise to have Amenda as a backup option, as he is one of the best centre-backs emerging on the scene for Switzerland? The experience of being part of the squad would be vital, really, for a player that would play a role in maybe the next major tournament that the Swiss national team is in. He's also featured in the Swiss League's Team of the League, won the Golden Player Award, and has played in the Champions League against some of the biggest names in world football, and has performed exceptionally well. Spain, Pau Torres. He's clearly not rated highly enough by the manager, as he rarely even gets a call to be in the squad, let alone in the starting 11. Even though, in my opinion, he is Spain's best centre-back. It seems to be that the Spanish national team is too focused in blooding in way too young players to give a player like Torres, reaching actually the peak of his career, a chance to play at an international tournament. Croatia, Petar Musa. What is clear from this Croatia squad is that they lack goals from the front of the pitch, with their only goal coming from the centre forward being against Albania. With Modric likely to retire at the end of this Euros, the onus for no goal scoring player is needed. Musa can fit this role admirably. He's prolific, having scored an average once every 3 games, but has only been given 6 matches for his national side to prove himself. He is 26 at the peak of his career and surely is a solution for the goal scoring issue that Croatia will face next international competition. Italy, Manuel Locatelli. Having just had a truly wonderful season with Juventus with 6 assists and 1 goal from midfield, and also being a crucial member of Italy's Euro winning team last time, it seems a bit of an odd person not to be included. At 26 as well, he's reached a peak age, and with his experience, it is really strange he was left out. Some will argue he's been out of form towards the tail end of the season, but I say someone with his calibre would have improved that midfield to no end with legs needed at times. Albania, Murto Uzuni. Having been a regular for the Albanians international outfit since 2018, it comes as a bit of a shock that he wasn't included in the squad, because for me he is their best winger. In the last 2 seasons has been phenomenal at scoring output for the winger, with 11 goals last season and 23 the season before. Absolutely mental figures to think about from somebody out wide. And he would have contributed to the high intensity play that Albania had demonstrated so effectively in the Euros. Slovenia, Kevin Campbell. For me, he gave up international football too soon. Slovenia could have done with the experience of Campbell, who made 28 appearances for the national team between 2012 and 2018. He's managed 35 appearances with RB Leipzig this season, so clearly he can still play at the highest level. He was upset that he didn't make the squad, but he retired, so that, in a way, was on him. Denmark, Philip Billing. He's a proven Premier League player. It's a real sham that he's been restricted to 5 appearances for Denmark, and to not make the squad at all is really a farce. He's 28, so at the perfect age to contribute when players like Christian Eriksen, who has probably played their last major tournament, and someone who occupies a similar position. And I'm surprised he hasn't been on the bench as a bit of as a rotational player almost. Serbia, Strahinja Rakovic. A player who has regularly appeared in the Nations League and was in the squad for the Qatar World Cup, couldn't even make the squad this Euros. Despite his leadership qualities, for a 23-year-old, he was left back home. Serbia is also one of the few nations unlikely to penalise a player based on playing in Russia. In fact, Srdan Babic plays in Moscow. I do think he's a good third-choice centre-back, so can start if playing a back three, or more likely be on the bench, but he would definitely have been a useful option to have over some interesting selections, I'll say, in defence. England, James Maddison. I had a long list in my head with the likes of Maguire, Henderson, Grealish, Rashford, Ward-Prowse and Sterling for England. And this is because they've really lacked experience and leadership this tournament, which has made the sort of play slow, lethargic and boring. But also that attacking intent to play through the middle, where our strength really is, has just not been there, and we've been forced out to the wings with mediocre crosses at best. Maddison could have been that missing piece of the puzzle for me. A good, solid age, reaching the peak of his career, and he brings that difference in play that the rest of the 26 simply don't have. He's also been the core of the Spurs team this season, with goals and assists coming through him from, at the beginning of the season anyway. Obviously, not in great quantities, but enough to from into the later season, but enough to provide that creativity from the middle, instead of just passing out to the wings and hoping that the cross finds its target, which it frequently doesn't because Kane plays too deep anyway. Poland, Kamil Grabara. I do think he's a bit full of himself and a bit egotistic maniac, but he's a decent goalkeeper. Szczęsny has had his time in the limelight, and admittedly, he's performed admirably for his nation. But at his age, questions have to be asked about how long he can play at the highest level. Now, I'm not suggesting he should have been dropped from the squad, or even that Grabara should be second choice. Marcin Bulka is a better goalkeeper than him. But he should have been full choice as Skorupski has phenomenal days, but he also has woeful ones as well, which makes he's just a little bit inconsistent. It's clear to me that the manager doesn't rate him as a goalkeeper, though, so I don't think Kamil Grabara is going to get into the Poland squad anytime soon. Netherlands, Jurrien Timber. On the one hand, I understand as he's missed most of the matches through injury this season, so could take a while to be match fit. On the other hand, at 23 years old, to have made 15 appearances for the Netherlands is a good experience to have in the squad. With so many players being ruled out for injury in the Dutch squad, he could certainly have made his way into a 26. He was important in the Orange men's return run to the quarterfinals in the last World Cup, and I didn't necessarily expect him to start, but with Koeman liking to play with 3 centre-backs and Botman injured, It seems to me slightly odd that he opted to stick with the ancient and out of favour Daily Blind than the youth in timber. Austria Samson Badu. He was part of the squad for qualification, and although I don't suggest he starts any games, with Alaba injured, it would be useful to have a centre-back in a similar mould to take his place in the squad. Badu provides this position. By being part of the squad, he will gain experience on what it's like to be in an international camp, and seeming he is tipped to be an Austrian regular, it would have provided a valuable experience, and when he does replace Alaba, he would have this experience with him. France, Christopher Nkunku. The justification for Nkunku being left home is that he hasn't had enough game time and there are too many attacking options for France already. Well, for me, Giroud hasn't been clearly favoured due to his age, so maybe his last competition and was retire was probably ending on the high with France last year when they actually reached the finals or something, instead of this time when they've only reached the semis. And one reason for that is the attacking intent has not been there with France. Well, it has, but the product hasn't been there. Rather, they are the lowest scoring team to qualify for the quarterfinals, and they only scored one goal from open play all tournament, I think, in the semis. Because before that, the 3 goals, 1 came from a penalty and 2 from own goals. Nkunku would have been a more useful player for France with link-up play with Kanté and the attack. Belgium, Thibaut Courtois. There is definitely an argument that the Belgian manager lied when he said Courtois isn't fit, especially seeming he appeared in the last 5 games for Real Madrid. It seems a disagreement between the player and the manager, and I'm more ascribed for him not being in the squad, with Courtois having a spat live on Twitter about the captaincy. For me, he's obviously their best goalkeeper. Let's not take away from Carling Casteels, but he just isn't the same as Courtois, who is arguably one of the best keepers in the world. You don't get into Real Madrid's first team without being on top form every game. Although I personally don't think any of the goals conceded would have been prevented by Courtois in the net, I just think his experience would have been useful. Slovakia, Martin Valgent. He is highly anticipated to make the Slovak national team for the Euros, and I can't find a justification why he didn't make the squad in the end. It's obvious he wouldn't start ahead of Hanko and Skriniar, but as a third choice, he would have been perfect as he comes in with international experiences before, having made 12 appearances, and is known to be content on the bench, so won't make a fuss to the media. Romania, Alexandru Matan. Dennis Mann is a better winger, but to leave Matan out of the squad of a country completely is something that I think would have been a naive decision. He's versatile, able to play on the wing or attacking midfield, meaning if Stanciu was injured, he could slot in effectively. Romania are known for their quick, high-pressing style of play, which utilises wingers to great effect, hence why they won the group. Matan suits that style of play down to a T. He is known for his speed and agility to get past players. He's also had a successful year with Columbus Crew, just gone. Ukraine, Yegor Yarmolyuk. I know he said he isn't disappointed to be left at home, but I'm sure a little bit of him inside would have been disappointed to not make the 26. Sudakov is a better option in my opinion, but the Brentford attacking midfielder is an astute option to have on the bench. He can also play centre mid, which is a position that Ukraine really lack in. And the issue with Ukraine this Euros was they couldn't retain possession to make clear-cut opportunities, and is also good off the ball when pressing. That is in Yarmolyuk could have added both of them. He was also awarded the Golden Talent of Ukraine award, so clearly someone to watch out for, and given him the opportunity to be in the camp for the Euros, that would have been huge for his career. But he's young and will inevitably play for Ukraine soon. Turkey, Cengiz Ünder. I can't see if he's injured or not, and was in the preliminary squad for Turkey, so it's a bit of a bizarre one for me. Yilmaz is arguably the better player and younger, but Ünder is still in his prime years and would have made a great rotational player in a system that relies on crosses to Tosun a lot, and Ünder has had a phenomenal season with Fenerbahce, scoring 9 goals in 33 appearances last season from out wide, which is just a great record. Georgia Irakli Azarovi. He's rumoured with a move to Celtic, and that must mean he's a good player for Georgia anyway. Clearly, Georgia do it as well as having made a gamble on him in the past, so much so, but despite being 22, he's already made 18 appearances for the national side's first team, and actually helped them to qualify for Euros as part of those games. He's a pacey left back, a position where Georgia struggled to begin with, and he would have been a natural fit in, but for some reason he just didn't make the cut. Portugal, Pedro Goncalves. Having scored 18 goals and created 16 assists this season, Pedro Gonzalez has had the season of his career so far. The forward has been electric for Sporting, and he'll be scratching his head at the fact as how he's somehow been left out of Portugal's plans this summer. In terms of his own performances, there isn't really much more than the 25 could have done, year old that is, to earn a spot on the plane. But he's still got plenty of time to force his way into the mix with the future tournaments at the left. The likes of Ronaldo won't be around forever, and if his form this season is anything to go by, he's got next season, or next international tournament, probably even the World Cup. Furthermore, I'm going to say it, Ronaldo should have stayed at home this tournament, having offered absolutely nothing this Euros. He's stropped, he's dived, missed a penalty, and several free kicks. And as only just scored a goal, I think, in the last match, when it was a penalty itself. I don't think I'm going to go on I'm going on a limb here, but Pedro would have been more of a credible alternative to have of him in that sort of position out on the left, especially seeming Ronaldo seems to be playing so high up now anyway. He's not that 7 position anymore. Czechia, Thomas Cavankara. Having played a vital role in qualifying Czechia for the Euros, so it feels cruel to have dropped him from the 26. He's also young and could have provided good cover for the fairly old Schick, and is more pacey than the veteran striker. There's a good threat from goal, having scored on his international debut as well. And yeah, let me know your opinions about who you think should have been included in your 26-man squad from across the European nations. Absolutely fascinated to see. We will never know if these players I've just listed, whether the teams would have got further in the tournament, whether they would have not been as well as if they got left, if they were as they were left out in the squad. Just let me know, and please subscribe if you're new around here. That would be hugely helpful to the channel. We are pushing for 150 subscribers by hopefully at the end of this summer period. That will be huge help if you enjoy the content. Predictions for the National League North-South will be coming out very soon. Keep an eye, but goodbye for now.